For most modern history, copper demand grew together with industrial development. When cities expanded, copper demand increased. When the factory expanded, copper demand increased. When the power system expanded, copper demand increased. But today, a new transformation is emerging in the global economy. That transformation is electrification. Electrification means replacing fossil fuels system with an electricity-based system. Electric vehicles are one example of this transformation. Renewable energy systems are also another example. Large data centers and digital infrastructures also depend heavily on electricity. All of these systems require large quantities of copper. This means that global energy transition is also a copper story. And we can see this clearly if we examine electric vehicle. A typical gasoline-powered vehicle contains approximately 20 kilograms of copper. An electric vehicle often contains more than 80 kilograms of copper. So this means an electric vehicle requires approximately 4 times more copper than a conventional vehicle. Now consider global vehicle production. In 2023, the world produced roughly 94 million vehicles. And if even half of those vehicles are eventually becomes electric vehicle, the demand for copper will increase dramatically. Renewable energy infrastructure also require enormous amount of copper. According to the International Energy Agency, the wind power installation require between 3 and 4 tons of copper for every the megawatt of capacity. Solar power installation requires significant copper wind and electrical equipment as well. Electric transmission networks also require copper. High voltage transmission system depend on copper cables, transformers, and substations. This means that electrification depends on copper demand across the entire energy system. This structural change has led many analysts to make an important observation. The future economic growth may require significantly more copper than past economic growth. In other words, economic development is becoming more copper intensive. Several research institutions have attempted to estimate future copper demand. Some forecasts suggest that copper demand may reach 35 million tons per year by 2035. Another estimates suggest that demand could approach 40 million tons per year if electrification accelerates rapidly. However, copper supply is not expanding at the same pace. Building a larger copper mine is extremely difficult and time-consuming. The development of a new copper mine often requires more than 10 years from discovery to production. In addition, many newly discovered copper deposits contain lower copper concentrations than old mines. And this means a mining company must process large quantities of rock in order to produce the same amount of copper. Lower ore grades increase both cost and energy consumptions. Environmental permitting has also become more complex in many countries. These factors make it difficult to rapidly expand global copper supply. This situation leads to strategic question. What happens if copper demand continue to rise while the copper supply grows slowly? Some analysts believe the world would face a structural copper shortage during the energy transition. A shortage of copper would not simply affect the commodity market. It could also influence the speed of electrification. Electric vehicle, renewable energy system, and power grids all depend on reliable copper supply. If copper becomes scarce, the cost of energy infrastructure could increase significantly. This led to important conclusion: the energy transition are not driven by technology alone. The energy transition are also constrained by the physical resources. Throughout the history, industrial revolutions have always depended on materials. The industrial revolution depends on coal and iron. The oil age depends on petroleum. The electrification age depends heavily on copper. In other words, the future energy system will not only be shaped by innovation, it will also be shaped by energy. Understanding these relationships between resources and technology is essential for understanding the future global economy.